Good morning. I'm Matthew McLaughlin with the MN McLaughlin Group, LAER Realty Partners out of the Andover office, and today we're going to be going over cold calling, everybody's favorite topic. So without further ado, we can dive right in. If you can explain to me how to flip the slides here.
Just use the down arrow.
Just the down arrow? Okay.
Yeah.
There we go. Okay, so the first question when we talk about cold calling, because it's oftentimes such an anxiety-driven technique to do sales, is what is the actual effectiveness? There's a lot of debate on the effectiveness of cold calling these days, because it's very difficult to get cell phones. Most people do most of their transactions in business and communications to the outside world through cell phones now. However, there is still effectiveness when you can access their home phone numbers, which is kind of what my wife and I have done when we started launching our company last year. So the statistics that are generally accepted is that about 28% will answer your calls. So as you go through your process and you're ringing and you're calling, about 20% will pick up. And from that 28%, about 10% will give you an appointment. Now, you understand that these statistics are not just in real estate. A lot of these are from other industries, such as insurance, insurance industries are among the biggest cold callers, and a lot of the databases that we utilize, even in real estate, are really taken advantage of by the insurance companies. So these statistics are generally for people that are selling hardcore items. You understand that when you're calling for real estate, you can't really talk somebody into selling their home. They have to be already in the process or in a stage of selling or listing their homes for them to jump on board to want to have an appointment with you. So giving that and putting that in perspective, about 10% will give you an appointment. 1% of those will give you a referral. Getting referrals is one of the key things. Even if somebody's not interested in selling their home, your natural instinct should be right away to, well, is there someone that you know, a family member, a friend, anybody in your neighborhood that you're aware of that you could refer me to that I could go over and I could speak with? So referrals are key, especially when you're doing cold calls. You need to maximize your efforts. So going through a larger scale when you're doing a cold call campaign, about 10,000 calls, which would be over a course of a year, if you were doing a real call campaign in your group. So if you collectively had a couple of members making 50, 60 phone calls a day, so that you're each, combining for 600 or so, 700 calls a week, that would get you your big picture. Cold calling can't be something you just do for a week. It has to be consistency. You have to be consistent with it because it really is truly a numbers game. It's all about numbers. You can't expect that you pick up the phone, make 10 phone calls, and all of a sudden you're going to get one appointment out of it based on the 10% rule. You have to do it. It's laws of statistics. So it's all about volume, volume, volume. So with those numbers, if we follow through the industry standards, if you get about 2,800 connects throughout the year, you're going to get about 29 appointments for the year. And of those calls, you understand that they're repeated calls. You're not just going through one block, calling one neighborhood, going through another block, calling another neighborhood. It's repetitiveness. Industry standards say that 80% of all sales are made after the 5th connect, which I think is actually low. I think it's more between 7 and 10, to be honest with you.
We had someone say the other day that on the 18th call she got the client, but what would you say is the frequency between the calls?
Frequency between the calls depends upon what you're doing. There's different types of calling. You have to make a decision whether you're going for a sales call or if you're doing what's called blueprinting. If you're looking to build your database, knowing full well that these are the neighborhoods that you're interested in selling, this is where you're going to target. So the frequency of calls for me is I would go through, like I'm just looking at my screen here, I have sort of West Andover pulled up here. And our frequency of calls is we will roll through a street, I'll roll through another street, and I'll probably set a block of about 1,000 calls that I want to make. So when I hit the end of the 1,000, repeat and go again. So you just keep doing it. So When you do it in conjunction with other efforts like door knocking, something we're going to talk about later, you can use those to bolster your connects. So if you walk a neighborhood and you knock on doors and people that you connect with, you get their phone number, you get their contact information, you put those into your call list so that when you, after you meet them that particular week or after you've touched base with them the first time, the next time, when you speak with somebody, you make a contact with them and you get a, start building what's, a relationship in sales, you start asking more questions and saying, when would be a good time for me to follow up? If you're interested in selling your home this spring, what's your time frame? And then you just set it. You set an appointment and you call them back, I mean, that's the best way to do it. It's really, there's a methodology to it, but there's also a randomness to it as well. I mean, because it's hit or miss, So as far as frequency, I think that since we started this last April, I could be on my 7th, 8th, or 9th round now calling through the numbers that we have already. And we're about to start our 3rd round in those neighborhoods of door knocking. So we're kind of closing in on what we hope will start seeing some results for all of our efforts. So you understand that a full sales plan or sales strategy has multiple layers to it. Phone calls, door knocks, social media, targeting those neighborhoods, mailing, send out cards. I mean, there's a whole different way of doing things from the Buffini method, with which we support here at LAER. One of the other key factors is when you talk to somebody, if I connect with someone on the phone and I try and blueprint as much information, find out how long they've lived in the home, and we have some slides that are going to talk about that, specifically what to ask when you connect. What we do generally is we will write them a note. After I connect with you on the phone, I'll write them a nice, hey, it was nice speaking with you today. I look forward to working with you in the future. And if I got some information, I hope that your daughter's birthday party goes well this weekend. Anything personal, and then you mail it out. So that's another connect, and it's a personal connect. And the other key is you make sure that you're putting all this stuff into your CRM. When you're doing big blocks of phone calls, I mean, the data entry would be incredible. So once I connect with somebody, then I move them into the CRM. So I have blanket lists that you pull off of some of the databases, which I'll show you here, that we utilize to get the phone call information. I've used Cole's database before. Sales Genie is who I ended up utilizing for the last year. Info USA, that's another one. That's all residential stuff. And all that data is pulled off public databases. So the accuracy of it can sometimes be suspect. These 3 companies routinely, quarterly, will go through and update their information, remove old numbers, remove non-contacts, things like that. But in the process, you'll find that there's a good percentage that are no longer good numbers, and you're pulling them off. So the key is you're trying to develop leads, right? You're doing this to increase your pipeline for sales. So as you make these phone calls, as you connect, capture as much data as you can, move them into your database, into your CRM. We use Boston Logic, which is a great program. I started off before with Salesforce. Salesforce is what I had used in some other sales jobs that I had had, and I loved it. But it's a very cumbersome database. It's more set up, honestly, for sales managers to look at what their sales team is doing, how they're managing leads, how they're managing their techniques, what type of frequency they're doing, and are they hitting their numbers. When you're in a small team like us, when it's my wife and I, it's pretty easy for us to keep track of if we're calling our lead lists, if we're calling our hot leads, our cold leads, warm leads, if we're doing those things appropriately. So that is, that's CRM is imperative, because when you're talking about big numbers like this and you're calling 8, 9, 10,000 people in a year, it's impossible for you to go back 3 months and even remotely remember who you talked to for 3 or 4 minutes on the phone. So, and you also want to be able to track what you've done. So I know that I spoke to this person. I know that I sent them a handwritten thank you note. I know that sometime intermittently in between, I may send them just a home value. I may send them an RPR report just to make it another contact. I may do that 2 weeks before I go back through a phone call list again. The only way to track that stuff is to have all your activities logged and and document it.
I think your reference to the importance of the database is so great, and also to put the notes in there shows how your relationship with that person is building.
Correct.
So that's great.
Absolutely, especially, I mean, people are impressed when you speak to them and you can remember, you know, a daughter's birthday that happened or things like that. It just helps to connect. It makes that human connection because, again, it's all about trust and building relationships. I mean, these are the largest transactions and the most difficult transactions in people's lives, buying and selling homes. So the next phase that we get into here when you're talking about phone calls, because everybody has this anxiety about making a phone call. So it's really, you know, it's a mindset. You have to get into a mindset. So for me, what I generally do is I'll block off a 2-hour segment during my day from about either 10 to 12 or 9:30 to 11:30. Evenings are very good from 5 to 7. Thursday nights are the best nights to connect with people. But I generally do a 2-hour block. And then before you do your block, you label it, whether it's going to be appointment setting or you're doing some blueprinting. So if you go through and you're looking through, and all I have is a name, a first, a last name, and their address. That's all I have in a home phone number. I don't know anything else about them. So my first call is generally, I will leave a message. Some people don't. If I'm calling, it's about to make awareness of our company. I want brand awareness. So I'll generally call a number. If I get an answer machine, I would just simply say, hi, this is Matthew McLaughlin. I'm the owner of the MN McLaughlin Group LAER Realty Partners. This is a great time to sell your home. If you're interested in selling your home, please call or text me at 508-826-2778. Simple as that, quick and clean, hang up, next call. It's about volume, right? You don't want to get tied up. You definitely don't want to have other activities. Don't look at emails. Don't answer your phone calls. As you go through these blocks and you leave your number, or sometimes they see it on a caller ID, you're going to start getting incoming calls while you're calling out. And your natural instinct is going to be to answer them. Oh, I got one. It's not. That's not what it's about. It's about getting through your numbers and doing your volumes. You should be working towards 35 phone calls an hour. You should be able to bang out 70 calls in a 2-hour block. And you'll get there as you get better. Right now, I can do about 50 an hour. So I can bang out 100 calls in 2 hours. Now, that's plus or minus. If I get into a good conversation with somebody and I do a 15 or 20-minute phone call, guess what? It's still a successful block. It's a very successful block because I've met my ultimate goal. But what you don't want to do is get distracted, because a lot of people call back and just tell you, you know, I'm not interested or things like that. So you deal with that after. So you do a straight call, and then you have a call back block as well. So you can do that and adjust your time, but you have to get your mindset set that you have a task to accomplish, and it's about reaching that sales goal. And your sales goal, listen, if you start off at 20, 25 people an hour, and you can sit down for 2 hours and get your name out to 50 people, either on voicemail or connecting with them live, it's the cheapest way for you to market yourself. It really is. So as we said in here, about 35 calls an hour is your goal. That's your industry standard. That puts you as a top cold caller. Here's my favorite line. You know, you can't get punched over the phone. The worst case scenario is people yell at you. They tell you not to call back. They may be insulting. You just hang up and call the next call. You're never going to see that person again. Remove them from your list.
You do remove them.
I would remove them from my list. You don't want to work with someone that's hostile. You know, that's not to say that I won't go knock on their door the next time I'm there and then talk to them in person. And they may not know. They may have had a bad day. They may just have had poor experiences with people harassing and bothering them on the phone. And sometimes people are just need to see you face to face. So I won't eliminate them from a door knocking. But I won't call them again, specifically if they do, because there's legalities also that we'll talk about at the end. You know, at the end of this thing when we talk about the do not call database. Okay, so this is the crux of things. So when you're getting set to do your call block, you generally always have a pad of paper next to you so that you can take notes. And what I generally do, and I don't have a copy of it printed out, but we have a form that I fill out. So, and this is the information that we look for. So when I'm calling and I'm blueprinting or I'm just getting to know somebody, the first thing you look at, you want to find out what their first and last name of all the decision makers are. So I may only have, a husband's name or a wife's name or a girlfriend's name or a boyfriend's name on the list. So the first thing you talk is how you introduce yourself, and as you start talking, you're constantly asking questions. It's always about how much information you can get. So what you want to know is who are the decision makers in the house, so that when we get to the point of appointment, or when I start addressing them with follow-up mailings or different things, or emails, if I get their email address, I want to address both the decision makers. That's how we want to do it. Hi, Ann. Obviously, you want to get their cell phones. If you're doing a cold call and you're calling them on their home phone, everybody has a cell phone. So you want to get all their contact information, get their phone numbers, get their email address. If you're doing a random call that you don't have a home address, let's say that you're using a lead source like OpCity, and OpCity doesn't send you their home address. They'll send you email and phone number. You want to know where they live. You want to know, number one, are you working with an agent? That's a very important one to ask. You don't want to waste your time and your efforts if they already have a relationship. Oh no, my sister does all our stuff. That's great, thank you. Cross them off the list, move on, don't waste your time, because your time is valuable. The other piece you'd know if you came in and it was a lead source that came in, because cold calling is not only for selling, it's also for buyers as well. When you're getting, a lot of the lead sources you have are cold leads, so you have to work them. OpCity sends a lot of cold leads. So you set a process, so you're blueprinting those calls too. So you want to ask them, if they currently rent or own in that type of situation. Are they selling a current home in order to purchase the next home? What types of homes and where are you looking to purchase? Investment, commercial, residential, what square footage, beds, baths, etc. The usual thing you'd have to know to actively find a buyer or someone who's selling to go buy a new home. Isn't that the score we're looking for? We want to list and get you your new home, right? We want two transactions for every one. Price range, obviously. Another big one, pre-approved. Have you been pre-approved if you're talking to a buyer, cold calling? It's a very important question to ask, because then clearly you have to move them right through our partners. Ross Mortgage, right? Everybody uses Ross Mortgage, right? And the next piece also, when you start working, do they have the appropriate amount of money saved to buy a house? That's an important question. If you're talking to somebody and they said, well, let's say I was talking to someone in May of this year, and they said, no, we're waiting for our tax returns. Okay, that's 9 months away. That's next year. So you put them on a list, you put them on a drip, you put them on a slower campaign. They're not your aggressive approach. You're not going to spend all your weekly hours attacking someone that's not going to be ready to buy or sell for 9 or 10 more months. So information is key so that you can appropriately manage your time and ultimately your effectiveness. So some of the techniques and scripts, I had mentioned to you one that I use if I'm leaving a message. There's a couple of easy ones. Scripting on a phone call, you want to keep it short. It's different terms. There's an elevator pitch. There's different ways of looking at it. I wrote down a couple of simple ones here. Good afternoon, Miss Lewis. Is this a good time to talk? This is Matthew McLaughlin, the owner of the M.N. McLaughlin Group, LAER Realty Partners. Houses in your neighborhood have been selling for more than asking price. We're providing homeowners with free home evaluations to determine their home's value. Would you be interested in finding out your home's worth? Simple things like that. I'll just need some information from you so I can send the report. And now I'm asking your email address, best contact numbers. Again, everything is built around that data that we're looking for. So you want to work your scripts. I talk in a mirror. I will go to my wife, I'll talk to my wife and practice some scripts on her, just so you feel comfortable. If you don't feel comfortable, people get caught up in the memorization. And then now you're trying to deliver lines as if you were an actor or an actress. You don't do that. Get the basics, feel comfortable with it, and say it however you want to get it. And believe me, don't worry if you screw up.
And you get better at it.
You get better as you go. It just becomes automatic. I mean, sometimes I get into a blank and I'll start asking for something else that I wasn't even thinking. I have to put myself back on track, which is why I keep notes.
My screen too. Just wanted to remind everyone that also in Jostle in the library, I think right at the top under training, is an entire 60-page document that Stacy wrote called Words That Work, and it's all sorts of scripts. Try them out. As Matt says, you'll get more and more comfortable with them as you're working with them,
Right.
but there's scripts there for expireds, for FSBOs, and cold calling.
The scripts are great too. I actually took a lot of my stuff from that book and just kind of made it my own as I went forward. I mean, there's all techniques. I mean, one of the key should be empathetic. One of the first questions you should ask is, this is a good time to talk? And then they're either going to say yes or no. And if they say, no, I've got this going, you're very empathetic. Oh, I understand everybody's busy, so when would be a good time for me to call back? You just keep pushing the envelope, pushing the envelope. You go, well, you know, we're not really considering this selling. Well, how long have you lived in the home? Well, I've been here for about 15 years. Oh, great. And your kids still in the school system? Well, no, they're a little grown. Oh, so are you considering moving at any point? You know, I mean, just keep going. Pretty soon, the person that doesn't have time to talk to you is on the phone for 10 minutes. You know what I mean? And I have all the information, and then I know, you know, I can target them through some send-out cards and different things and strategies. It's about information. Information and being memorable. You want to be polite. Always be polite. Never get into an argument with them. When they tell you to pound sand, you thank them, hang up, take them off your list, and move the next person. And then go knock on their door. You know, that's how it works. When you do get somebody, when you're making the appointments, here's a key that's important. Your time is so valuable. You need to control the conversations that you have. If you leave it up to them, they'll schedule you at their convenience. You know, you want to try and control when you're going to be seeing them so that you can control your own schedule. So when I ask, you know, I don't generally ask what would be a good time for you. I mean, I ask, is 11 o'clock next Friday okay to see you? I have an opening this day, or I'm going to be back in your territory. I'm going to be back in your neighborhood, you know, Friday the 11th. Do you have time to see me, you know, around 11 o'clock or 12 o'clock or 1 o'clock? And push the envelope. Make it work as best you can in and around your schedule. Because what I find when I try and control my call blocks or my door knocking or my outside activities, if I'm not stringent upon those things, all of a sudden you look down, it's been 2 weeks since you've made a call, because all of a sudden during your 10 to 11 you've been showing houses, or you go off and do this instead. It's discipline. Discipline's key. You get unraveled very quickly here, because this is a very busy business. It's very busy. You're at the whim. If you're managing selling and buyers, you're constantly working around their schedules, and it makes it very difficult for you to get anything done on a consistent basis. So discipline is key. You literally have to defend your own time. You have to defend your own time. One of the most difficult things to do. Okay, we talked a little bit about follow-up. Everyone you connect with should receive a handwritten note thanking them for talking with you. If applicable, re-emphasize your appointment date and time. Include business cards and marketing collateral. So when I'm speaking to someone on the phone, I don't have something to give to them. I'm assuming that they're going to write my name down, but that's why I send the follow-up note. When I send the follow-up note, I put my business card in it, so now they have my full contact information. It's just another way to get our information into their homes. Send out cards, another effective thing. I am actually going to meet with Jay McHugh this afternoon from 1 to 3. We've been doing this for about 8 months, and I'm ready for the next phase where we're going to add send out cards in. You know, we're going to budget for that. It's going to be a little bit more, it's going to facilitate our follow-up. It's a lot easier platform from what I understand. Bulk mail is very expensive, doing those things. So this is a great way to follow up with and bolster any of your door knocking or any of your phone calls. And I put on here that the follow-up, the handwritten notes, the business cards, the send out cards, this is the step that separates you from all other agents. A lot of people think, oh, I made 4 or 5 connects this week, 6 or 7 connects, that's great. That's just phase 1. You literally need to hit them 7, 8, 9, 10 more times before they're willing to move, trust you, establish a relationship with you, Sometimes we even invite you into their home. So it's a very, it's a process. It's a long process, but it's one of the most cost-effective processes. That's the facts. Yes.
Go up there for a second.
Okay.
So Ann has a card that she used for just what you were just saying.
Oh, excellent.
And it's a send-out card.
Excellent.
It is a send-out card, and I recently was doing some prospecting on expired, since it's expired time of year, and I usually don't leave things unless I see them with expireds. I'll go back and knock and knock and knock. However, there were a few that I said, I'm just gonna leave it in their mailbox, and I'm gonna go online, and I'm gonna take the picture of their house off of online from MLS, and I put a just sold thing on it, and I wrote underneath, let's get your house sold. And I followed
love it.
up with the best is yet to come with the house. Let's get your house sold. I stopped by to see you today, and I'm so sorry I missed you. I did leave you a little gift in your mailbox. Give me a shout to set up a personal meeting to discuss my successful marketing plan. I look forward to hearing from you. And on the back is the
That's
LAER
it.
thing.
That's how it's done.
Perfect.
That's the compliment, that's the follow-up. It's the most effective way to get in front of everybody. There is so much competition in this business. And, you know, we're 4 years old, we're doing $1 billion worth of business. Our brand recognition is climbing and climbing and climbing. But individually, you still need to get out there. I mean, there's not just a mysterious LAER agent, right?
Right.
It's all of us, we're a piece of it. So if I want the business, I have to go out and ask for it. That's my motto. No one's gonna call up and say, hey, I happen to see you, that you are on Facebook, and all of a sudden you're, you know, I want to use you as my agent. It just doesn't work that way. You have to establish yourself. You have to reach out to people. You have to make relationships. You have to have recognition
But I
to be
think
considered.
One of the things that you said that was so important was the consistency. We've talked about this month in branding. We've talked about it in marketing. We've talked about, again, the branding and having all that you're sending out being consistent. And you're trying to build the relationship. You're just not doing it once, throwing it against the wall,
No.
and then on to somebody else. You're being consistent, and that's so important.
That's the whole key to any industry for a sales marketing plan. It's consistency and context. If you're selling door-to-door Kirby vacuum cleaners, if you're selling door-to-door insurance, if you're selling door-to-door Verizon, you know, they walk around. It's repetition. It's repetition. They will target a neighborhood like they're supposed to. They will hit all those doors in the first quarter of the year. Then they'll go back and repeat those same doors the second quarter. Then they'll repeat them the third quarter. Then they'll repeat them the fourth quarter. That's the consistency. It's the consistency, and then people get used to seeing you there. How you behave is important for your reputation. Neighbors will talk, so it's important that you make a good presence. The National Do Not Call Registry. This is an important thing for people to pay attention to. It was established in 2003. It sets telemarketing sales rules. The website, which I strongly recommend everybody to log on. I put the hyperlink on there, https://telemarketing.donotcall.gov. Fines are up to $41,000 per call. Per call. I mean, talk about putting you out of business instantly. Yeah.
It's funny is I get calls every day.
Right.
I'm on the list.
I know, me
It's
too.
ridiculous.
You're on the list and you get called, and so it's going to happen. Most of the big databases, Kohl's, Sales Genie, they have a do not call list, and then they have the list without it. You have to be cautious. Don't do it. If someone tells you not to call them, just assume that they're on the list and don't call them. It's not worth the risk. It's not worth one sale for that type of reputation or that type of fine. Absolutely
And
not.
their website
And their
says,
website says, due to the government shutdown, we're unable to offer this website at this time.
Excellent.
No more-
Call everybody. While the government shut down, this is your chance to call everybody, and they can't do anything to you.
Sellers should continue to use their existing list from the National Do Not Call Registry until the shutdown concludes.
So I already have a list, so I can't call, but anybody that doesn't have a list, feel free.
Now, you would check on this, if you weren't sure about if somebody was on it or not, you would look them up?
You can check on that, yes. Yep, the do not call list will have everybody on, and it's generally cell phones, you know, so a lot of the, you know, that's the
Can you go
difference.
back again
Sure.
to talk a little bit more in depth about the Coles directory? Because we have that for the company, and just the different ways that it can work to help whatever list you have to get it more completely.
Sure. The Coles list, so in the Coles list, you can pull it out. There's, if I recall correctly, I haven't used it in about 7 months or so. But when you are setting up your sales marketing plan, like for example, I went to the town of Andover, and I think it was 20 bucks. I don't know if this will fit on camera or not, but I just simply bought
Oh
the
my
town map.
goodness.
I simply bought the town map, and my wife and I determined what neighborhoods we were going to target, which was all of West Andover. So when we hit the list, then I just matched it with Coles, and I said I'm going to hit Avery Lane, Brady Loop Circle, High Meadow, High Plain, all the main roads in West Andover. I queried the list and pulled up every residential one that they had on the list, and that's how I set my. So if I went on
Explain to our agents what queried means.
query,
Yeah.
oh, just doing a search. So you just do an area search, or I just would specifically, I said, I know that I'm going to be walking Avery Lane this Saturday. So there's about 40 houses or so on Avery Lane. It's a big loop, and then so what I would do is I'd pull off, and of those 40 houses, there was probably 15 or 16 of them that had their numbers listed. So I called those numbers on Thursday, talked to a couple of people, and then I followed up, was knocking the whole neighborhood on Saturday anyway. Sometimes I do it in the reverse. If we got out and we knock the doors, Brady Loop Circle, for example, I may put them on my call list Monday or Tuesday and follow back up. Hi, I was through the neighborhood. What a beautiful neighborhood you had. I dropped some information off your house. Did you have any, questions? And just a quick follow-up just like that, so that I get 2 hits within a week and try to see if I get any, any responses quickly. So that's how we do it. And we just, this is a newer map, the other maps I'll beat up at home, but as we did a street, I'd highlight it in yellow, the first run through. The second run through, I put like a strike through it, so I know I went through my second. And that's it, just so that you can strategically, map out your strategy.
Do you pull the streets from MLS?
I pull the streets from MLS if I'm looking for expireds. So if I'm going to do Brady Loop Circle, I'll pull that up and say if there's any expireds on there or anything like that. And then that house, when I know that Ann's here as well, but when we start our door knocking and our materials, I'll have one set aside for, say, 16 Brady Loop Circles and expired. I've already called them, and if I'm knocking on their door, they're going to have a different package with expired information in it. So I'm kind of killing 2 birds with 1 stone.
I want to see that.
Yeah. So, that's it for cold calling. It's just it's a mindset.
So I think
that's what you have to do. You just have to get yourself set to go out and do it, and convince yourself that it's one of the biggest bangs for your buck. It really is, especially since LAER already has the Coles database. Mm-hmm. If you're doing expireds, you're doing door knocking, there's no reason that you shouldn't be looking on that Coles database and getting that person's home phone number at least, or information, so that you can follow up. If you knock on their door and they're not there and expired, call them. And then go back and see them again, and then call them and go back and see them.
Remind agents again, going back to mindset, how no matter what response you've had, you've got to have that refreshing mindset when you make the next call.
Right, because then I just simply look at it as that opportunity is not here anymore. The next person on the list is who I'm looking for, and I'll go see them at some point in time when I'm knocking on the door and maybe create a relationship, and at some point in time I'll laugh about how terrible they were to me on the phone. Listen, I've gotten called in the middle of something on a cold call, and I've been abrupt with people on the phone, and I'm a salesperson that does this for a living. It happens, and then you feel lousy afterwards. You're like, please don't call me again, that sort of thing. And you're like, yeah, it's just somebody trying to do the same thing I'm doing, trying to earn a living, right? But it can be annoying. You get 800 numbers, 800 numbers, 800 numbers all the time. You want to do this survey, you want to do that. People get frustrated as heck. They do, and then all of a sudden, hi, this is Happy Matt McLaughlin from LAER Realty. You want to sell your house? Nah, I don't want that. Sorry, you hang up, and that's it. They may have just had a bad day.
Yeah.
That's all. You can't get punched over the phone. That's the key. You know, you can't. Yeah, just move on. That's all I can tell you. It's a complete mindset. Move on. You can't be afraid. You've got to hit your numbers. You can't let that stuff derail you. You just move on to the next person and keep calling. Because every lousy call, you get a good call.
There you
It's
go.
the fact.
That's a positive. How do you look at expireds, or how often do you look at expireds in MLS?
Expireds are something that we hadn't really done last year. That's part of we kind of have a business plan that's phased out because there's only so much that you can do and keep up with. So my wife, who's my partner, still has a full-time job. She's gearing up to retire. So right now I'm managing my clients, her clients while she's at work. So adding additional things have been difficult, but we've moved our plan. So, you know, like I said, I'm doing send out cards this year. That was part of my phase on plan. FSBOs or something. We did a few of them last year because I wanted to get a taste of them and feel them, but I didn't have a strategy for them, and expireds. So now we're just adding them all in. I would hit expireds, like if I do a neighborhood, and I know, for example, if we were planning on doing one of the roads tomorrow, I would go right on automatically and look for expireds on that street or anything close to that street, maybe the next street over, and just do them when you're there. Because I try and set up a block. We try and do about an hour to an hour and a half of door knocking a week. That's just it. So with the two of us, we can go through a neighborhood, hit 60 people, 60, 65 homes in about an hour and a half between my wife and I. And then, so if we hit 65 homes, I'm calling all 65 of those homes either before or immediately after, you know, within the next business day or so. I'll be calling them back to follow up. So we're hitting basically 130 hits.
So back to
within
your CRM.
4 hours. Yes.
After you've done the visit to the neighborhood, you're putting the note in that person's contact record saying,
Yeah, I'll create
walk that neighborhood.
Yeah, I will create a new record. Now, if we're just hitting a neighborhood, I won't put every house into the neighborhood, only the people that we connect with.
Oh, okay.
So if I connect with Ann, I happen to knock on Ann's door and I say, hi, how you doing? Hand her the information. We talk for a few minutes. I'm gonna go home. I have a notebook with me, so I write any information down that Ann tells me when I have that opportunity. You always have to have something to write with so you get your information correct. When we get home, we'll do about an hour and a half, as I said. When we get home, she'll have her list of people that she connected with, and I'll have my list. We'll immediately write out the thank you notes, and then immediately enter their information, and done. So the whole process is probably about 3 hours on a Saturday, maybe less, 2.5 hours or so. But by the time we finish handwriting out cards and enter everything in, and then you move off to the rest of your day. So
But it's good to do it at that point.
get it out of the way. You never have time to make up for it. You
No.
have to make it part of your block.
Question.
Yes.
How can we access Cole Realty?
Cole's database. Okay, Susan's going to have to help me with
Yeah,
that.
so you could send an email to happyagent@laerrealty.com, but I know that both Len and Kiki have the login and password.
Okay.
I'm sorry that I don't, but I should.
I probably have it saved on my computer, and I wouldn't be able to
I have
remember.
another question too.
Yes.
Can you talk a little bit about the meetings that you've been having, or gatherings in Andover, and how you've been reaching out and pre-marketing ahead of time, and who you've been pre-marketing to?
Okay. When we do our buyer seminars, we're utilizing, we're on OpCity, we're on Realtor.com, and we're on Zillow. So we have 3 different lead sources that are coming in. We also do home value leads, which is another thing that bolsters our door knocking. I don't mail those. If someone asks for it, I go out and knock on the door and hand them their RPR or home value, however, or a list report, whichever one I switch them up, you know, how I want to do the values. But to get people to our seminars, they're basically, I'm making some assumptions here, so stop me if I'm wrong. When we talk to say a buyer lead that comes in, and we try and blueprint their information, find out what stage of the buying they're at, refer them over to our partners at Ross to get them through their pre-qualifications. We put them immediately on a drip in MLS. So when you go into your contacts, you can see when they've logged on. So what we try and do, obviously the people that are logging on consistently are your hot leads. Those are the people that are actively looking for homes. And then you'll see that the people that are kind of phased out and aren't logging on, those are your cold leads. I went up and down that list and call, text, and email, say, hey, we're having a first-time home buyer seminar. You know, our attorney, Joe Colantino, is going to be here in case you have any questions. You know, Mark Dalborn or Karina Blanca from Ross Mortgage is going to be here to answer any questions. It's a great time to finish your pre-qualification. You can bring your documents right there and you'll have a letter by the end of the seminar, you know, things like that. So we just physically will go out and target. To people that we don't know, we put it out on social media, and we'll target the areas that we want to try and farm people to come in and see. Haven't had as much luck doing that, just the random stuff, as, you know, the direct calling people that you have a little bit of a relationship with, saying, are you ready? Are you at that phase yet? We're running the seminar, why don't you come by? We had a investors seminar last month, and it was about splitting, was it last month? Yeah, it was last month. It was about converting condos and multis. So we went right down our list of people that we had sold multifamilies to and people that were in the market for them, and just called them, and we ended up getting 6 or 7 people there just from our lead list to go, and it was good. It's just reaching out and calling, you know, and my wife and I argue about this all the time, and we push because texting seems to be everybody's norm right now. It's not as effective as calling. It's just not. It gives them another way to refuse you. You know, I'll send a text and say, you know, I'm going to give you a call later today. Warn them, let them know sometimes if it's someone cold. I send a text to people when I first speak to them on the phone so that they have my personal cell phone number. Please record this, you know, in your contact list. I'll send them over our LAER app so that they can search MLS through our license, our desktop, so they can search MLS through our license there. And that way I know that they have my cell phone, and then I will call them. I'll call them. If something comes up and it's late, if it's after 9 o'clock at night, I'll email or text sometimes. I'll email or text, and this is another argument that my wife and I get. If we're in the middle of a deal with another agent and something comes up, I'll call them any time of the night or day. It's their agent. But I won't call a client usually after 9 unless it's specifically, you know, understood. But agents, you're doing business with us, your phone's open till 11. Because it was P&S's come in at 9 o'clock at night. We had a P&S that came in on Monday night, and it's been a little bit of a pain in the neck. And it came in at 9:30, and it should have been an extended P&S, and it came in with the original dates from, supposed to have been closed on the 4th. The P&S supposed to be signed on the 4th, and we got it on Monday. And I said, you expect me to get a mortgage commitment in 7 days? I said, we haven't even ordered the mortgage yet. There's no mortgage until you sign that P&S, right? So I thought that was understood. So I made that call at 11 o'clock at night. You sent it to me at 9:30. I got home at 10, looked through my emails and said, oh no. So I just called right away. I mean, but it's different. You're calling another salesperson. Everybody's money and time is on the line at that point in time, and something important like that warrants a phone call right away. You know?
The timing, sure.
Yeah. I apologize if that's a little aggressive, but that's just the way it is. My clients were on the line there, so that's it. Their deposit and everything else, so I was calling right away.
I want to roll back a minute
Sure.
to previous discussions. And I'm curious what your conversion rate is, if you have a measurable rate as far as reaching out to those expireds.
I don't have anything yet, and that is my objective. Okay. Given that we've only been, you know, about 8 months into it, almost 2.5 quarters,
right.
I don't think there's enough time. As far as the connects go, we absolutely, when we knock on doors, talk to 50% of the people.
That's great.
Phone calls, I'm absolutely right in that 25, 28% rate, that piece. As far as we haven't gotten a listing yet, we just have relationships building. That's what we're hoping to see. I mean, it's going to take, this type of thing takes, you know, at least a year.
It takes time.
At least a year, because consistency, you can't get through that much stuff in a year. If you have a big team, you should be able to blanket tons of things. My 17-year-old son knocks on doors with us. We give him all his stuff. And so sometimes it'll be my wife, my youngest son, myself. Our oldest son has come out with us a few times as well. And it's nice because then you can go bang out 100 homes in a day. They get things, and then we're writing letters, writing notes, and you get lot of information, a lot of stuff, but
Right now is really a great time for anybody that's out there listening for looking into expired.
absolutely.
I just did a bunch of expireds. I have one appointment, so.
Good.
that
Do you know,
one
what was the
appointment-
conversion? How many did you do? I mean, you do
that
them
was
consistently.
only-
You're the
well,
most
no,
consistent,
I
you
don't
know.
do them. I do them at different times of the years in the spurts, actually.
Okay.
This is one of those spurts. So right now is a great time to go out there and do them because there's a bunch from October,
Mhm.
November, December.
Right.
So I do those, and the first thing I do is check and see, are they listed, of course. I write down their names next to, you know, the printout.
Right.
So when I knock on the door, I know their names. Do I have to?
Sure.
Absolutely.
So,
Yeah, that is,
so
so how many did you do,
I
Ann?
only did about 15, and I have one appointment. And now I need to
that's a good
follow
rate.
up on the others and actually call them. We did get one of the other ones on the phone, and they told me that they were going to be relisting with the agent they had. So that's fine, you know. And also, my next thing that I'm gonna do is go back and look at ones that expired in April, May, June, and July that did not relist in the fall. Chances are they were waiting to relist in the spring.
Right.
And they didn't have to sell last year, so they said, oh, let's just wait till the next spring. So now is a really good time to do the same thing with those because spring market is here. I know you may not think so based on the amount of snow it's supposed to get, but it's here. And if we get those now, so my idea is to knock on the door, especially with the forecast that everybody's spewing about the real estate market softening. Those people want to sell before it gets soft.
Absolutely.
I mean, they want to maximize, not minimize what they're going to get. So, you know, getting that face to face and speaking to them, I think is really key.
The one that you had the appointment, did you get them at the door? Did you get them with a follow-up? How did you get them?
I had met her a couple times, so it wasn't a completely cold expired. When I met her the first time, she was listed, and I met her at the dog park. So, yeah, I met her at the dog park, and we were just talking, and I gave her my doggy bag, so that's one of my things that I usually give out. So I gave her my doggy bags, because I always bring about 5 with me when I go to the dog park. So I gave her my doggy bags, and she was really sad. Like, I could tell she was sad. Like, she's like, oh, you're a realtor? And I'm like, yes. She's like, oh, my house is on the market in Holliston. And I'm like, oh, really? Which one? And she told me which one. I'm like, oh, yeah, I know that house. And she said, and she could tell she was just sad. Like, oh my God, it hasn't sold. And, you know, maybe you could be the next person, or maybe you could sell it. So I made sure to go by there with my husband, Dan, at the next open house, which was the last open house, and see it in person with the agent. And I was the only person that went to the open house. And made sure to leave my card, you know, hopefully, you know, that she would see it. And then when it did officially get canceled, and we talked at length. She talked to me about what could she do to possibly list it with somebody else. You know, I said, well, I really can't, you know, tell you what to do because you are under contract.
Correct.
So I really couldn't answer those questions. I said, if you want to reach out to me at another time, you can, but I can't guide you when you're under contract. Once you're no longer under contract, we can talk at length. Is basically, you know, because you have to watch yourself, is basically how I handled it. And she told me when she expected her listing to expire. So it was supposed to be October 28th, and then it wasn't. So it didn't automatically expire, so it was extended till October 28th, and she didn't, and that was an extension for a month. And then I noticed it didn't. I kept watching every day. I'm like, did it cancel yet? Did it cancel yet? And she put it temporarily withdrawn. Because she even asked me, well, how many days does it have to be off the market to go back to day one? Because she was calculating when she could relist and 0 days on market. And the minute it expired, finally.
That's a good question. What is that?
It's about 61 days, I think.
61 days?
It's 2 months, I'm going to say. For
No,
MLS
that's
pin.
what tell you
Before you
too,
pin
though. You
them.
can just call them and they'll tell you.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's like, it is 60.
I think it's, you have to be off for 2 months. So sadly, she never did it, and I couldn't call her. And finally, December 7th, it got canceled. Not expired, canceled. And I stopped by like immediately. And she was so upset because she didn't know. She showed me her text messages. She didn't know. She assumed it was already canceled. And I'm like, oh no, it just got canceled yesterday.
Wow.
And she was really, she's like, so now how long do I have to wait? So I have an appointment with her. It was supposed to be next week, but it changed to the 30th because she's interviewing in California. And I'm hoping that I get to list it. She even mentioned she's willing to rent it at this point. And it's a big house. I mean, it's a $700,000 house, and it's, the rent would be, of course I'm gonna try to talk her out of that, because
Right.
especially a long distance landlord, and nobody's gonna take care of it the way she's gonna take care of it, so.
So from first contact at the dog park until now, 4 or 5 months, you've been tracking this? So
About
that's the
3,
consistency.
yeah, 3 months.
How did you keep that person with all the 400 other people that you're doing on your radar?
I
How
have
do
a
you keep-
list,
Perfect.
and I have a whiteboard, and on my whiteboard I have like a list of prospects and people to like
Perfect.
really keep in touch with. I also use, I do use the Buffini CRM for my business goals and planning. And on the prospect section, I think I have like 18 different possibilities on there, and how much approximately their homes would sell for. And those are like, I'm always going back to that list. That's like my pipeline.
Right.
And like 3 of those people on that pipeline I have signed contracts for to
Nice.
list their house in February, March, and April. So, and one of them has been signed since like September. So I
And these
just
are expireds?
No, those
Okay.
are just, one was, wow. I mean, for me, it's all about relationships.
Yes.
Like one of them that I'm listing in Medway is somebody that I knew from when I went on a year course in Israel in 1981, 82. And we went to camp together
Okay.
and in New York. And she lives in Medway, and we're not friends really, but we're acquaintances and we keep in touch. So she did list her house a number of years ago, and it wasn't with me. And I said, I met up with her for lunch, and we chatted. And I said, hopefully next time you'll think of me. And it was years later. So she called me, and
Excellent.
so it's all about just, I really try to keep in touch, whether it be by phone calls, whether it be by pop-bys, which segues right into
Yes, it does.
the next section of our
Certainly does.
discussion. So, that's what I think it's about. I really try to more so work my relationships that I have, not so much the cold relationships, but I think you
Yeah.
need to do a little bit of everything. And Buffini is much more dealing with the relationships you have. He doesn't really venture out much into the cold calling and the prospecting. But one thing I don't know if Buffini actually says, like, I wear this everywhere. I have a bunch of them. I'm wearing a gold necklace. I put on the one with the gold rim. I'm looking around this room, and I'm the only one wearing my. Oh, good! Yay! Good job! Good
I
job!
can't find the silver one, but.
Because don't be a secret agent.
Yeah.
I just don't think you need to be a secret agent. Let everybody know you're an agent. Just put it on. And it's so funny because last night I was at a women's networking group, Polka Dot Powerhouse, if anybody has heard of it. And I was there, and it was bowling in Milford.
Nice.
And I was wearing it, and they're like, Ann, we all know who you are. And I'm like, I know, but the people in the next lane don't. And they're like, really?
That's true, yeah.
I'm like, well, you never know.
That's
Maybe one
right.
of them needs a realtor.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So thank you, Matt, for all of that. I'm sure we're going to get a
Welcome.
lot more questions, and
Anytime. my
we're going to
pleasure.
take a few minutes to segue and let Ann get set up. And
Okay.
then we're going to start listening to that, and you're welcome to stay. and
Excellent.
listen
Thank you
to
so
that
Sounds
as well.
great.
Ann, I'm going
We measure up.
Hi, everyone. We're back with Ann Silverman, who is going to talk to us about Buffini Popeyes. And what I wanted to say first was the other day when Kiki was doing the demonstration on, or presentation on open house strategies, we were talking about Ann's tent cards, even though she wasn't here, and placing them in different rooms. So here they are. So it is on stock paper, and Ann puts them together, and they're great. And it'll say, did you check out the loft area, which is perfect for an office or reading nook? Got a baby? This area makes a perfect changing table. Spacious master bedroom boasts new wall-to-wall carpeting. So not only is she talking about the different rooms in the house, but she's also sometimes talking about updates. Water heater replaced in 2014. Eden Kitchen has new stainless appliances. Unfinished lower level, perfect for future expansion. But also, we mentioned the other day that Ann would put a note in the master bedroom that would say, don't forget to see the beautiful fireplace family room on the lower level. And when you're in the lower level, it might be, don't forget to see the beautiful tile work in the master bedroom. Living room offers wood-burning fireplace, and kitchen boasts a wood-burning stove that's both beautiful and functional. Isn't this family room with its cathedral ceiling, skylights, and ceiling fan perfect for all your entertaining, especially with its 2 sliding doors to a wraparound deck? So that is just great. Thank you for sharing those.
Awesome.
And we're going to let Ann tell us all about how she conducts her business with, these are Buffini Popeyes, and a lot of Ann's ideas. And we also have some visuals on the screen for you to look at as well. So just the right arrow there.
You got it. Hi. So I am really all about relationships, which I said prior. And it's really, for me, it's about keeping in touch with everybody I know and expanding the everybody I know by meeting people I don't know. So I'm constantly out and about, and I also always have things in my car. So I always have like a basket with almost everything that's on the table that I'll be showing, and in the slideshow that I usually have these things available in my car in case I meet somebody and I'm like, oh my God, I have the perfect thing for you. So it's really important. So these are past ones that you see in the screen, like that's something I've done for Halloween, and I have different ones for Halloween, but they usually have some sort of tag on it that says, take the trickery out of real estate and treat yourself to a true professional. I love our LAER logos. So if you, that's another Halloween one, but if you use the LAER logos, you can use, this is just a LAER logo. I don't know if you're seeing this clearly, but it's just the pumpkins with the LAER on the pumpkin, and I just expanded it and put my little saying right there and my name underneath it. And then on the back, you know, I have another little saying and usually a picture and another LAER logo. So the LAER logos are great. This is the one I use this year, and it's, again, it's a LAER logo. Mm-hmm. So you don't have to work so hard. Mm-hmm. And then you just print them out on cardstock and you just cut them. Mm-hmm. So happy to share. Some of these are on Jostle, and you would just have to, of course, personalize with your name, your phone number, really easy things to do. So there's more pumpkin ones about carving out time for you. I'll always be able to carve out time for you. Mm-hmm. And those are other ways. You always just want to make a play on words. Mm-hmm. And drop these off with, you know, some candy. You know, you go to Christmas tree shops is my favorite place. Mm-hmm. Dollar stores, anything like that. You go there and you just, I mean, let's have a field trip. Give me a shout. I'll go. You know, you walk around and, you know, you make up taglines for things. So, I mean, I bought these little cups. They were $4 for $1. $4 for $1. You know, I filled it up with candy. I put my tags on it. My card's inside. Easy. I always do my Halloween with my Thanksgiving. So I have the Halloween and I have the Thanksgiving. So in October, they know that they are also getting ready for their, that I'm also thankful for them, and that they could order their pie, which I do give away in November. So I combine it. Okay, so that's one way. And then, of course, I also have ones for Thanksgiving. You're going to love Christmas tree shops. So I don't know what's on there's so many on the screen that are different from what I have here. So I'm going to try to just mostly display what I do, okay? So this is like Give Thanks. It's a Thanksgiving towel. These are $2 each for the nice soft ones. The hard ones are $1, but I like the nice soft ones. So again, you could tie on some candy and have it with Halloween, or if it's after Halloween and you're still going around, I'm thankful for you as my client, and I'm always here for you or anyone that you know. So you stop by, and if they're not home,
That was my question, like, they don't know you're coming, right?
no,
Okay.
no. And if they're not home, I do, because these are usually people I know. These are people that know me. These are not strangers. I will take a picture of myself on their porch like this. With their front door in the background. I'll take a selfie and I'll email to them like, so sorry I missed you, but I popped by and I dropped off a little something for you.
That's
Give me a
awesome.
shout. So that I'll do. Or sometimes I've even done, a little video, and sent it to them.
Cool.
So, give me a shout. I'd love to sit down and have coffee with you one day or something. So I definitely, because they're people I know, so it's different. Okay. So and they have these towels for everything at Christmas tree shops. So there's Thanksgiving. I don't have any of my Halloween ones, but they have Halloween ones. St. Patrick's Day. And on these you actually add, it's great to be Irish, and you have your, peppermint patties. That's what I always put in there. Like 4 or 5 peppermint patties for St. Patrick's Day. Happy St. Patrick's Day.
Nice.
The kiss of the Irish, and like here's another one, kiss me in Irish. So spring is coming up. So, you can get these also at Christmas tree shops. Plant dreams and grow possibilities.
With little seeds, like, yeah.
Forget-me-nots. With little forget-me-not seeds that your sticker
Oh,
that you
that's
put
nice.
right on the back is
Forget-me-not.
forget-me-not for all your real estate needs. And by the way, I'm never too busy for your referrals, of course.
I like that because it's light, number one, it's not heavy to carry.
Mm-hmm.
And those are things people would typically buy for their own home, right? People don't usually buy St. Patrick's Day
No.
towels.
No.
But they
So
love
They
them.
love
That's
to
nice.
have 'em.
Right, it's nice.
And this one says
that's
home
good.
sweet home.
You got to have a Christmas tree?
Yes. Yes. And I'll pass it around because
This
they're
one's
really,
nice.
really soft.
That
like
one's nice,
these are
yeah.
ones you would buy
Oh,
for
that's
yourself
nice.
because
Yeah.
they're really soft. And pass
Those are
around
the
that one.
$2 ones?
Those are
$3.
$2.
Oh, $2.
They're $1.99. Actually, the
That's
price
okay.
is even on some of them still. $1.99.
I think that's
You can't go wrong.
Yeah.
Um, So we're getting up to spring, and there's a few things. There's a spring one that she just put up there. So there's another one that I use in the spring, and it says, "Give me a house to call my own. Family and flowers will make it a home." And it's time. When it's time for help with real estate, give me a shout. So that's a good one. And they have these. These are like $1.50 or 2 for $3, and they have them with all the different spices. So, and they'll have them again. This is also, it's Christmas tree shops. It's right there. And I also bought these mugs. Same thing, same tagline. I put basil seeds in it. They can make their own little planter out of it.
Nice idea.
And they were, I bought a whole bunch of them when they were $1 each. They had a day, instead of $2, they were $1 each. So I just buy. I just have a whole slew of stuff. What else? I mentioned the doggy bags. So there's a great story that goes along with the doggy bags. So I was walking around with my friend because I have a dog and we go around the reservoir. It's like a 4-mile loop. I always bring a bag with like 5 of these in it. We were trying to come up with taglines. And I'm walking around the res and I'm coming up with these taglines. I'm like, what am I going to say? I couldn't think of what to say to relate to real estate. We came up with some good ones though. So real estate is not just a job to me, it is my duty to protect my clients every step of the way. Pun intended.
That's a good one.
Okay?
Yeah.
And then I have the doggone days of summer are behind us, but the spring real estate market will be here before you know it. So again, tying in the whole dog.
Nice.
And I don't know what else I have. this one is not really great, but it's kind of funny. Don't get caught in duty. Hire yourself a true professional when it comes to real estate. Maybe I should say poo-poo, or I don't know.
Yeah.
But, you know, they're all different, and then it's, my name is on the little dachshund, and on the back, you know, there's different ones. This one's more for spring. That's a logo. You know, again, just one of our LAER logos that are all there. And that's one more for spring, and everything I touch turns to sold. Nice little tagline.
So just an explanation of that for our agents who are listening. If you go into Jostle and into the library and into, I think it's just the library at the top, there is an entire section on, I think it's logos and something else, I forget. But there are a million things for different seasons, different times, different holidays of the year with our LAER logo on it. So you could very easily, where was one you just had that had the LAER thing on it?
Oh, well, this is a logo at the top.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a logo for winter.
That is one
more
of them.
a winter one. This is a logo. The Give Thanks is a logo. Many of these are. I mean, you know, this one's a logo. There's so many. It's like one for every single month out there, for everything.
Yeah.
So just go there and take a look. So another story that came along with these, because I always have to share this win-win story.
Yep.
So I met somebody outside of somebody else's open house. Okay, I didn't plan this, but I was waiting for clients and I was on the street and I ran into the open house first to check it out, and I wished my clients weren't even coming because it was pitiful and it was embarrassing, but I couldn't see it before. But when I went outside, this couple came out and I said, "What did you think?" And they said, "Yeah, not so much." I said, "Yeah, I'm kind of embarrassed. I'm meeting clients here." I said, you know, so we just started talking. And they said, "Well, we're not really in any rush," but they really were. But, you know, and then they're not working with a realtor, they told me. And they said they had 2 big dogs living in one of the townhouses in Ashland, actually 2 Dobermans, big dogs. And they really, you know, kind of wanted a yard for their dogs. No children, dogs. So I said, "Oh, I have something for you," because I said I always have things in my car. And in my basket, I had my ice cream scoopers, I had my doggy bags, my gum, I had all these different, and I went in and I got the doggy bags. I'm like, "Well, if you have 2 Dobermans, you definitely need these." I asked them, and then my clients called and they were here, so I had to go. I said, before I left, I said, "Where are you in Ashland?" Because I live in Ashland. And they said, "Captain Eames." I said, "Great." I said, "Which one?" They told me their number. I said, "Great." I wrote it down. I said, "Do you mind if I reach out to you regarding the possibilities?" And they said,
So you
"Absolutely."
know Ann was there for dinner.
And they said, "Absolutely not." And by the time I walked out of the house, she already linked in with me and friended me on Facebook.
Wow.
That's amazing.
So I wrote them a send-out card. And since I now was friends with her on Facebook, I went to Facebook and I downloaded a picture of their Dobermans. And then I downloaded a whole bunch of pictures of different yards from different listings. And I had a picture of I wish I had it with me, their Dobermans on the front. And then, you know, I wrote in the back that I look forward to helping you find a forever yard for your pets. And imagine the possibilities and all the different yards. And then I said, I'll be, you know, I look forward to seeing you again soon. And then I called them, and Wednesday I had an appointment.
That's great.
That's amazing.
Wow.
Lo and behold, then I found them a house in Mansfield and sold their condo, all because I gave them doggy bags.
Wow. That's awesome. Very creative. And
So that works. So I'm always thinking of the different times of year. So of course, you know, Halloween, we do Halloween, St. Patrick's Day, St. Patrick's Day. These are all the time. Expireds, which is now, or these are good for any time. These are the ones that I do for cold or any time, or even for past clients, these work. And it's extra gum. These I buy at like BJ's or Costco or whatever. You know, you buy a 20-pack for, you know, whatever, $8, you know? And the difference between ordinary and extraordinary is that little extra. Okay?
yeah.
And that's it, you know, and then your information on the back. So these I do for expired because obviously their aging wasn't extraordinary. Okay? I mean, they didn't sell. And the other one I use at this time of year is it may still be cold outside, but the spring real estate market is already heating up. If I can give you a hand, please call. And they're hand warmers.
Hand warmers, oh, nice. Yeah.
Okay, so that's another one, and that's what I've been leaving in the expired or giving to the people when on the expired visits. So we're getting more towards spring. You know, we're going to start getting into other things that we should be giving away, like the seeds, the spring cups, ice cream scoopers. Of course, are always great. Call me for the scoop on the current real estate market. Okay, I use the same back on many of them, but I also bring these when I do open houses. People love to leave an open house with like something.
Yeah.
So I always have a basket on the table with ones like this, the extra gum, the doggy bags, you know, things that are more generic that they can just take. And if I'm doing something like now, I'm going to be having, I have 3 listings that'll be coming on before May. These are going to be in my baskets on the table because I do a shredding day in May where we have a truck that comes to, actually we partner with a residence home for elderly and assisted living and things like that. So we do it there in their parking lot, and it's May 4th this year. Last year it was May 5th. So, you know, it's still going to have a Cinco de Mayo theme, and I usually give out scissors because it would take a long time if you had to use scissors to cut up all your personal papers. So come by, and this is like a give back to the community, you know, after tax season. You know, they have to definitely get rid of at least, you know, the one from 8 years ago that they don't have to hold on to anymore. So they probably have a box of personal documents that they want shredded. So people came last year, it was great. So we're doing it again this year. Last year was the first year I did it, and now we're doing it again this year.
Good.
And it's just great. People, we had lines of cars with
Wow.
people with boxes of paper to get rid of. So those will be in the basket. Yeah, you know, what else can I share? The seeds. If you do calendars, football calendars, anything like that, Red Sox calendars, always get extras that you're not going to be sending out and put them in your basket so people could take them at the open house. And if you don't use them all up, cut the top of it off with your printed information because it is a magnet, and use it as a business card.
Why not?
Stickers. Okay, this is another thing I like. So this is another one that I drop off at old clients, the measuring cups. And this one says, I appreciate you as clients and your referrals beyond measure. The hardest thing is remembering who I gave these to so I don't drop by with the same one again. That's tough because I don't always really keep track, and I was just thinking about that. But the reason I like these were $1, okay, at Christmas tree shops. It has measuring cups and spoons, which is great. I like anything that I can put my sticker on so it's there forever.
Explain that a little. So she looks for a large area that would fit the sticker or the return label that she's making into stickers. So she's looking at that as she's walking through Christmas tree shop, finding these.
Yes. So this one says, I appreciate you as clients and your referrals beyond measure. And it has my little caricature and my name and number and my email. And it's right on there. So that's great. The doggy bags also, which are $1, like this, at Christmas tree shops, $1. And the important thing about this one is, I'm just going to take this out so I can show it to you. You can put a sticker on it. So usually the address labels fit perfectly on there, actually perfectly. So this one doesn't have anything on it, right? I take my stickers. This one is, it is my duty to protect you every step of the way. Call me for your real estate needs. My name, my phone number. I take that off. It fits, like I said, just perfectly on here. And now it's on there. So when I give this out, they have it. It's funny when I walk around the dog park and I see people with these hanging from their leash, you know, it's like, and for $1, not only do they get that, they also get an extra set of bags. They'll never run out. That's perfect. Okay? And you just put that in a little thing. So I love things, you know, like that you can do with stickers. So, and different size labels. This is the one for the forget-me-nots that I put right on the seeds. And then I don't have this one here, but this is something that I leave when I go on market analyses. So these could be people I don't know or people I do know when they call me. So, and this is just Mr. Clean, those magic erasers, which are fantastic. And, you know, why not leave them with something? It's just another way to remember you.
Right.
That's all you ever want to do is have ways for them to remember you.
Read it.
And it says,
Yes.
with Ann Silverman in your corner, you can expect all to be squeaky clean from start to finish.
Awesome.
So it's all about
perfect.
coming up with
Okay.
a saying to go with it. And before you go
Picture.
painting walls or going over your trim work, you know, try using this because it is quite magical. You may not have to paint. You may just have to
Clean it.
clean a
Yep.
little bit.
Who did your caricature?
That was done a number of years ago at some conference. They had somebody there, and I love it.
Yeah.
Great.
It's
Yeah.
really a great one with the sold sign.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
just, it's really a good one. I've been meaning to make, I used to have thank you cards made up with it, and I have to redo them because I ran out.
This
Yeah, those are
Vista
nice.
print. Will
What?
do it. Vista
Yeah,
print will do it.
because I have the actual original.
That's
So,
awesome.
yeah, it's fun. Any questions? It's a lot to take
I
in.
put this up a little late, but let's go back to the fall ones again. This PowerPoint, I can share with anybody who'd like to have it as a reference. But let's just go back to the beginning because the fall ones are so great. That was the,
Buffini also does
Well, this
these
is-
flyers too that you can send out to your.
we're gonna
Yes.
talk about that too.
Yeah.
This is a good one.
From your peeps.
Yes. And Christmas tree shops has those too.
Yeah. Everything.
Yep.
I mean, they have everything.
I'm never too busy to carve out time for your referrals with one of those baby pumpkins. If you're walking a neighborhood, that's an excellent one to do. Take the trickery out of real estate and treat yourself to a true professional. And this goes back to what Ann was saying about the pies, and she did a client appreciation party in conjunction with it. But any way you slice it, I'm grateful for your referrals.
It's a great one to send all your past clients for sure.
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yep.
And segue, we are starting a Buffini course on February 6th. Ann and I are both mentors for that. Ann is going to be teaching it in the Marlborough office for any of our agents in that area. It doesn't matter what office you're with. I'm going to be teaching it here in Tewksbury, so anybody from any of the surrounding offices who wants to start. And not only do I have a lot of resources from the Buffini classes that we've done before about pop-bys, but I'm sure we'll be learning a lot of new ones as well. So if anyone wants help jump-starting their marketing for spring with Buffini ideas, but also the pop-bys as the added icing on the cake, February 6th we will be starting.
And is it weekly? Or
Once a week,
Once a week.
for how many weeks?
8.
8, yeah. It's a wonderful program.
Yeah.
And followed up by hopefully some accountability groups, and those are always good too.
I agree, and I said this even at my previous brokerage. There were a large group of people who were having a discussion about taking one of the other preferred classes, and they did push back and say they got much more out of Buffini. Buffini actually helped them really work from referral, which was easier.
It is.
Ultimately, it's easier. Yeah.
And you know what? There's never a bad time to start. I mean, if people think, oh, you know, and I did this myself. I had clients, you know, I haven't spoken to in, gosh, 15, 16, 17 years. I mean, really haven't spoken to, haven't made that face-to-face connection. Yeah, they're on my mailing list. Yes, they get my calendars. They get my 3-4 time a year mailings that all my past clients get, but I didn't have that face-to-face. And I was a little nervous about popping by. It's been 15 years. How are you, you know? But you know what? They loved it.
Yeah.
And the story goes that when I started to do these pop-bys and really started getting into them about 4 or 5 years ago, I went to a house in Milford. I was putting flags up for Memorial Day. I was just putting flags. And the garage door was open, and I was with a friend, and she's like, go knock on their door. I had not seen them, I think, I sold them the house in 2002 or something. And I'm like, I was nervous. I hadn't seen them. She's like, the garage door is open. You have to go knock on the door. And I did. And they were so happy to see me. And there were boxes everywhere. They were packing. I couldn't believe it. I'm like, oh my God, you're packing. Where are you going? They're like, oh, well, we have a place in the Berkshires and we're going to retire and move there. And then we're going to sell our house after we move. I'm like, wow, talk about timing. And, you know, I said, well, we should talk. He's like, we absolutely should talk. And I listed their house and sold it, you know, a month later. So it was just, and that had been like 14, 15 years since I'd seen them.
Is this your only method of prospecting for business in terms of like, do you do other mailings or do you?
I do. I think you have to, like, you know, Matt said, a little bit of everything.
Yeah.
So I do have some farm areas that I mail to. I live in a condominium complex. There's one street of houses in the back of 28 houses, but there's 324 condominiums in my neighborhood that I've been farming to for years. I also set up my own Facebook page for the Spyglass Hill community that people have joined. I try 3 times a year or so to, 3 or 4 times a year or so to send them with whatever else I'm sending, whether it be the football calendars, the Red Sox calendars, or my regular calendars. I try to send them a newsletter, you know, that I've made, and it has right on there, join the group, the Facebook group that I created. I usually put in there the things that have sold, some little tidbits, and I don't recreate the wheel. I sometimes take things right out of the Raw reports and I copy and paste it. But that one's pretty shabby, but pass that around. And I try to connect with them. And I do usually list 1 or 2 properties, sometimes more, a year up in Spyglass Hill. And I also have a couple farm streets in Framingham I've been farming to forever. Indian Head, which I once had 4 listings on in the same year. And actually one of them might be relisting. He mentioned it to me at my John Harvard's client appreciation party. So there you go. And I actually drove up his street yesterday and gave him a shout. I left him a message. So he said it was kind of hush-hush because his partner wasn't thrilled about it, but it was his idea. So, you know, I have to follow up with that. And then there's another place, Grisbosca, another, that I just keep farming to. I've had a few listings and
That's great. That's great.
I keep in touch.
And who doesn't love getting a gift? You know, everybody loves to get something, so. You know.
Right, and I try to make it something of value that, you know, that they can use. I mean, it's so funny when the kids come to the open houses, they always want the ice cream scoopers. That these actually, you could put sprinkles in the handle so you could shake out the sprinkles.
Oh, that's a
You know, they were $1. Yeah. Again, if anybody wants to go to Christmas tree shops, you know, I'm happy to go. It's kind of fun. We're just walking around saying, what can we say for those? What can we say for those? And I've come up with some pretty funny ones that I can't use and won't say here. All right, is that good?
If you're interested in signing up for Buffini, just send me an email and we will get you signed up through our Buffini rep. We will be posting, I think all of the admins in each office have the flyer now, so they will be sharing those with everyone in the office. But if you have any questions, just call me. And thank you both, Ann and Matt, for inspiring us today of different ways to connect with cold calling, with FSBOs, with expireds, and with pop-bys. Also, we should mention that we are canceling our class for Monday because of the impending storm, so we will be back on Tuesday. Thank you, everyone, and have a great weekend.